Welcome to Parenting with a Splash of Jewcie. We're not parenting experts, just two intentional parents doing our best to raise kids that we don't want to escape from. We'll share what's working, what used to keep us stuck, and all the messy growth in between. I'm Jewell.
I'm Gracie, and this is your weekly splash of Jewcie.
And we're back with episode 3. Episode 3.
This is episode 4.
Episode 4. It's been a long journey, folks.
Been a long couple weeks for us. Yep.
We're back with episode 4 today. We wanted to, we're talking about our parenting, why we parent the way we parent, and a big aspect of that is education. And so today, we're going to talk about
why we are choosing to homeschool.
Yes. Yep.
Or educate our kids from home.
Yeah, not going the traditional homeschool route of sit down 6 hours at home and do something. We're going to talk a little bit more about the way we're educating our kids and why we're not going the traditional route and some of the things that led us to making this decision and what we've done so far. So, what?
I just didn't want to be loud.
What is this?
Here, mango.
All right, so I think let's rewind to you being pregnant with Sunny is when this decision came about to homeschool.
Really?
If I remember.
Oh, and you worked at the middle school?
Yeah, so just a funny side story that has to do with it is when she was pregnant, I was trading foreign exchange markets at this time. And that was my big dream. That was my big how in terms of creating wealth for myself. Was trading. Not it's similar to stock trading, all that. And so when we found out she was pregnant, I was a dishwasher, and I was like, you know what? I need to quit my job right now and go all in on trading and make all this fucking money. Didn't go that way, but yeah, I did quit my job as the dishwasher. And how did that make you feel at the time?
Worried. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for having a child and
While
living.
She was working full time.
Yeah.
And anyways, I found out through the grapevine that because our communication wasn't as open at this point, which, more details at a later time, but the long story short was I got a job working at a middle school as an instructional aide / yard aide because I had been tutoring and I figured that was a good way for me to not work full time, still have time to do my trading, plus her mother still worked at that district as well. So it just all made sense. That's why I applied there. At that point in time, my belief system was I was 100% pro public school. I was a tutor at the time. Majority of my clients were students at private schools, and some of the kids were spoiled. Some of them were a little uptight, I guess you could say. Long story short was I felt they were overprivileged. In my head, I created this scenario where I was this great person that I was because of the hard lessons I had to learn at public school. And my kids are going to go through that same thing, otherwise they won't learn the same lessons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much I felt the same way.
Yeah. Excuse me for yawning. I got up out of my nap to come record today. Podcast dropping tomorrow, so we make time where we can. Somehow we convince Sunny to take a nap today, and so he's napping while we're doing this. Anywho, started working at the middle school. I think it wasn't the first second I stepped on the campus, but probably within that first day I realized, oh, there's no way. There is absolutely no way my unborn child will ever be in an environment like this.
Give some examples,
You know,
but you don't
it's
have to be specific about where you worked.
yeah, it wasn't the first day where I realized the full extent of this, but I did see firsthand. Oh yeah, like we knew at this point we weren't gonna be doing iPad babies and all this screen time. And that was the first thing, was there's no way for us to regulate what kind of information our kids are exposed to, because I might not give them a phone, but their friend, these I was in middle school, so I'm talking sixth and seventh, or seventh and eighth graders, excuse me. Some of these kids coming in were, I think, 11 years old.
Oh, dude, I remember. Okay, go ahead.
No, tell me.
Well, I remember like middle school, just like kids going into the bathroom smoking
Mm-hmm.
in middle school. And it's like,
Well, it was
it doesn't matter at that point what your parents have instilled in you. It's like your peers are a huge, huge influence.
especially when you consider, let's do a little bit of math here. So we're talking, school starts at 9 a.m. You get out at 3 p.m. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. You're spending 6 hours of your day with these people. And that's the shorter estimate if you're not considering going hanging out with them, sports, and all this other stuff. 6 hours a day. You sleep for 8 hours. That's 14 hours. That's almost half of your life, your awake life, you're spending with your peers. I remember in middle school, kids, what I was exposing my friends to. I was, unfortunately, the kid. To all you parents out there, there's a kid out there, but I was the kid sending porn to my friends and introducing them to that. I remember being in class and having kids showing porn, like looking things up, like, oh, look at this, oh, that's so crazy, like, they were doing this in class, just looking at this, like, that kind of stuff you cannot filter. My parents, I didn't get an iPhone. I didn't have an iPhone up until that point. I got one in like seventh or eighth grade, which is way too soon to have unfiltered access to the internet without the right education. Another topic, but anyways, to kind of loop it back around here. When I was working at the school, I remember noticing that day one that these kids had access to these phones, and that there was no way for me to regulate the information my kids were consuming if they were in this public school environment.
Then, not to mention how spiteful like so many teachers are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of teachers out there who really do their best to educate their students, to be a good role model for their students. We all had a good teacher when you look back at it, but you also had probably more teachers where you're like, that teacher, right?
and
So
the
look at what
reality is like they're just stressed out
stressed
and
out people going to work every day who have their own life, and then you've got 40, well, maybe not 40 in all cases, but 20
30
to 30 students
who
who
are not
might
your
be on,
own kids.
not your own kids, all on different pages, completely different levels of education, and even more so nowadays with very little respect for this perceived authority, which is the teacher. Teachers' authority has definitely changed over time. Students are a lot more disrespectful in a lot of ways. Once again, more topics that we can get into, but trying to stick to why we are homeschooling.
A big thing too on that with like how many kids are in the classrooms, right? Is that in public schools, um, there's so many kids in a classroom, and they have to go at a certain speed, right, to like hit all their subjects or whatever. These
Mm-hmm.
teachers, it's like there's no it, it, it's it's like kids learn at different paces. If our child was ahead, but their whole class is taking it slower to learn this one subject, like the one no child gets left behind
No
rule.
child left behind. Yeah,
It's like it'll either hold your kid back, or if your kid is struggling, then your kid's gonna get kind of left behind,
well,
even though they say no kid left behind.
I
But
recall there was the no child left behind. It's a contradictory statement, which maybe I don't understand the full extent of it, but from the way I understand it and from what was communicated to me, There was an 8th grade English teacher, and this guy was an absolute stress case. Really was trying. Like he would come into I was in like their workroom where we make copies for all the teachers and whatnot. He would come in there and just be bright red, flustered. He's like, I'm trying to help these kids, but I literally can't get through to some of them. Like, I have a handful of kids that are just already, they get it, they got it, no problem. They don't need my help. They don't need the extra assistance. But then I have these kids where I literally cannot get them to do anything. They have a 5% in my class and they will graduate this year because there is no child left behind. Like, I have absolutely no say in it. When this kid has not learned a single thing, has not advanced at all, has not improved in their knowledge of the subject. And that is just insane. Like, and if you it all backtracks to before these kids get into school, to what their parents have exposed them, the way their parents have educated them. It's like Gracie mentioned, these kids are on completely different levels, and they're just expected to show up and be on par for this standard that is really kind of ambiguous. There's this vague standard that the kids need to be meeting, and majority of the time they're not meeting it. They're not meeting it, and
Like
uh,
I was one of those kids in high school where I was pretty smart. Like I didn't really have a hard time with like any subject, and so I would get all my stuff done before everyone else, and then I just like would sit there and be bored. And when you're bored in public school, it's a lot easier to get into trouble.
mhm.
And yeah, I just like every bad thing that I was exposed to. Not everything, but most
The
of it was from
majority of the bad things I was
my
exposed to was
peers.
school, was from my school peers. So it was at that point, and it was very early on me being there, where we opened up this conversation of like, let's homeschool our kids, because I'm not definitely not doing private school. Apparently these people are paying a lot of money, they're getting better results, but these kids, man, I definitely do not want my kids around these kids. And I liked a lot of I love those kids that I tutored. Had a lot of fun tutoring during those times, but
You also heard like
I
what was going on
heard a
in the
lot of
private schools,
stories. Yep.
which is just kind of,
It happens at public schools too.
yeah,
It's
it's
no
just
different. It's absolutely no different.
partying,
hmm Partying,
drama, just all that
drama,
stuff.
a lot of toxic behaviors, but it all stems from the media. Anyways, another subject for another day. Um, but we opened up this conversation of let's homeschool our kids. And I don't know. My sister was homeschooling, but we didn't really have any kind of idea of what that actually looked like.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We knew that's kind of what we wanted to do. But the reality was, like, she was getting closer to her due date, and we still didn't know. Um, I guess something I want to mention is with the current school system we have, school starts when the kids are about 3 or 4 years old, pre-K, kindergarten, daycare, right? That's when their education starts. It's like that's not correct. you know, their education starts before they're even out of the womb. Like if we're just starting, we're really gonna get into it. Like we're starting with genetics, and after genetics, we're talking about what kind of sounds and energies are happening when they're inside of the womb. And when this baby's born, like what kind of environment are they in? Are they talking to them? Are you reading to them? Are they listening to movies with you? Like that education has already begun. And we didn't realize that. We did not
We didn't
realize
know
that.
that yet.
No. We were watching Game of Thrones with our newborn baby and with the volume down.
He wasn't watching it,
No,
but
but
in the same
he was
room.
facing us in his little
But he
chair.
could hear all of that.
And there was times where she would be like, should we turn this off? And in my head, I'm like, nah, he can't see what's going on. Like, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what he's listening to. Like, volume's down. It's not too loud for him. I just didn't realize, like, what kinds of things he might be absorbing, right? And that just goes back into the whole school point of, like, if that was all a child was exposed to was TV and movies and Coco Melon or whatever, music, that child's gonna be way behind a child whose parent like sits down and reads to them and like nurtures their developmental stages and all that. So
Yeah.
it was at that point. It was about a month before.
What?
Were you pregnant still when Austin and Giselle?
No, Sunny was.
When
They
they
came
first
to
came
see
over?
Sunny.
I thought they came over twice. No.
They came over to see Sunny.
Okay. Well, we had some really good friends
He was
that
like a
we
month
met
old.
from way back, which I'm sure we can even do a whole episode about that. But they were going to be moving out of state, and so he texted me. He's like, "Hey," they weren't like really good friends at that time. Like we became really good friends, but at that time we were all mutual friends. We all got along well. We never like hung out just the four of us, but it was Austin and Giselle. Austin texted me. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, it's going good." And we were just keeping up. And then he hits me up one day. He's like, "Hey, we're actually gonna be moving to Ohio like next week." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's far away." And he's like, "Yeah, you guys want to get together for dinner before we go?" I was like, "Absolutely, yeah, that sounds great." So I think we did Taco Bros. Was it?
Yeah.
Oh man, shout out to Taco Bros. Apparently the pasta bowls are good too. I just can't get behind tacos and pasta being at the same place yet. But anyways, sorry, I'll get lost
Don't
in
go.
Taco Bros.
Don't talk. Come on. Back on
Um,
track.
they brought some food over, and we were just hanging out, talking, having a good time, and it was really cool because a lot of the conversations me and Grace had about things, like the way we wanted things to be but didn't know what to do, Austin and Giselle were bringing up those same kind of conversations, which I was like, dang, that's really cool. And they did come over 2 times.
Okay.
They came over for dinner that night. If your memory is better than mine, please step in.
Well, go ahead. What's the next part of
Well,
your...
what happened that night? I don't remember.
We just talked about that, and they told us about Techno Tutor.
Yes, that was that night. Okay. So then he told us that they were actually going to be homeschooling their daughter. They had Luna. She was about 6 8 months older than Sunny. And about all these really cool results these other parents were getting, like their kids reading at really early ages, excelling like in their
Doing
educational abilities.
really cool practical life stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of developments in life skills and abilities to function in the real world compared to the learning of just pure information in school. There's not as much life practice in school. So I was like, dude, what the heck? That's so cool. We've been talking about this. I work at a school right now. This shit sucks. And they're like, yeah, this thing, Techno Tutor, really great tool. We've been using it. Really cool community. And then there was a parenting call.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had every
was the
other
second
Sunday
time.
they do parenting calls. The group does parenting calls where they talk about different parenting topics, and you can get support real time from other parents who are taking this, like I mentioned earlier, like this aggressive approach to parenting where like our goal is to raise highly effective children. And if we have to sacrifice during this time, then sacrifice it is, because there's nothing more important than setting your child up to be a really effective adult. If you're not doing that, then you're not, I guess maybe I'm not the expert. I think I am an expert in parenting. I've been doing it for 3 years now. If you're not setting your child up to be an effective adult, you're doing your child a huge disservice.
Yeah.
Period. I don't want this to be like, I tell you you're wrong kind of podcast, but logically speaking, if you are not setting your child up to be an effective, self-sufficient adult who knows how to get what they want out of life, you're doing your child a huge disservice. Period. And so we got on that parenting call. It was really cool. Get to hear from other parents, hear some stories, and then there was a question phrase. I still remember it was Cameron was saying like, prove to me that humans are not robots.
Mm.
It's like, it was really cool going into how humans have programs, or even, we're organic beings. It's like, well, what creates that organic being? Like genetic codes, like, so we're coded and programmed. oh well, I'm different than everybody else. Yeah, I can program every robot differently. It doesn't make it not a robot though. It was a really cool conversation, really challenged some of my different ways of thinking, and we just immediately hopped on board. We were like, yes, we need this tool. This is the group that we'll go to for support when it comes to educating our kids, to being better parents. And that's where a lot of our parenting belief system comes from, was from this group of people who took a stance on parenting, who stood up and said, no, I'm like that trend right now, like propaganda I'm not falling for, like public school, absolutely not. Education starts at school, absolutely not. uh yeah.
Yeah, and there's just like so many things about homeschooling. Like, I think a lot of people get intimidated because they haven't retained a lot of information from public school,
Mm-hmm.
but yet they still want to like put their kids back in that same system, which doesn't really make sense.
Yep.
But it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to freaking be smart. Well, like teach yourself things. Like you have
Yeah.
to educate yourself as well. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Like you can do that. You can
Mm-hmm.
do that, and you can just like start with the simple things when your kids are young, like doing things around the house. That's practical stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Reading your kids books,
Yep.
like, and I mean, there's like, I literally realized this the other day. I was reading Sunny, one of the books I've read to him so many times, and I was thinking about how he said something the other day. He just turned 3, and he was like telling Jewell and I about a conversation that happened, and he's like telling us this story.
Mm.
This happened actually, and he's like, yeah, and then suddenly Demi ran out in the backyard, and she told us this. I'm sorry, what 3-year-old speaks and uses the word suddenly?
Yeah.
I don't use that word in my
No,
vocabulary.
it's a
But
word
I
he's
was like,
picked up from books we've
yeah,
read.
and so when I'm reading in this book again, I was like, oh my god, like I'm increasing my vocabulary here too.
But
So
even
anyway,
just that idea right there, like the vocabulary aside, because everything stems from the vocabulary, the comprehension as well. Like the school system teaches you to memorize. Like that's what's really cool about the Techno Tutor tool, is it's helping to like make this information more deeply rooted, to make it so that you're going from a place of not memorization but more so from a place of understanding, helping you process information better. And the fact that he's 3 years old and understands what suddenly means and can use it in the context of something that previously happened, right? Wasn't something that happened that day. This was like several days prior, and he's telling me the story from a time I wasn't there. He's like telling me a story, which was just so cool. And suddenly Demi ran outside, and I was just like, oh, like that's the first time I've heard you use that word. and
yeah,
and even I was talking about this the other day with someone. We went to a Condors game. It's a local hockey team, and he really liked it. He thought it was a lot of fun watching them play on the ice. And so since we've got home, he gets like his baseball bat, or like the horse head on the stick, and he's like, let's play hockey. And those are his hockey sticks, and they like hit the ball around the living room. Well, when Grace was home one day, he lays down like this old lightsaber that I used to have, the hockey stick, or the
and the
hockey stick,
horse.
the baseball bat, the horse, and then like an old shower rod. And then what did he say?
He's like, look, now we have options.
Come
And
on,
I was like,
folks.
wow, you're so amazing. Because
Like,
it's like he knows the word, he knows how to use it, he understands what it means.
and he can use it in context. Like, I think it's so cool. And this is like, he's 3 years old, guys. Like, where I work at an auto dealership. I see 4, 5, 6 year olds, 3 year olds, 2 year old. I see all these kids who could be at the same level, but they're not, just because their parents haven't given them the same opportunity at education. Whether it was because they put them in daycare super soon, or because they just don't know better, or they give them a phone all the time or an iPad. Like, these kids just haven't had the same opportunity. It's not that our son's better. It's not that me and Grace are just what we are, super smart. No, it's not that we're just these genetically enhanced beings who are super just smarter than everybody. Like, that's not the case. Go pull up my transcripts from school. Like, I
Yeah.
was smart, but I'm kind of dumb sometimes. And it's just really cool to see at 3 years old the understanding he has of the world. And that's what I mean talking about creating a highly effective adult, is that at 3 years old, he's got a very effective understanding of the world around him. He understands things at a deeper level. Like, he makes observations. Like, he'll ask me sometimes, like, Dad, what did you notice? Like, come on. And he knows what he's saying. It's not just like words that he's hearing and repeating. Like, he understands the context. But were you gonna say something?
No, and just like he's so capable of doing like tasks around the house that just like amaze me too.
And
But
so we're doing this all again with our daughter.
yeah,
Like,
except no Game of Thrones.
except no Game of Thrones or Babytron rap music fresh out of the hospital. Like, we're doing things the same, and we're learning. Like, we see what worked really well with our son, what things do we wish we did different, and we're doing it over again. We're taking that lesson, we're applying it, because that's part of learning, is applying. And that's something school doesn't give you the opportunity to learn all the time. The way you apply information in school is taking a test and then moving on to something new, right? It's unfortunate. And it's not to say that the people working in the schools are bad people, or that they're trying to like dumb these kids down, but that's what our education system was designed for. It was not designed to create highly intelligent individuals who are self-sufficient adults who are super effective. Like, it creates good employees.
Yep.
Just that. Like, not exceptional employees, not bad, just good. Maybe okay, maybe fine.
Yeah.
Like, go to McDonald's, go to CVS, go to Walmart. Like, majority of these people went to public school, and a lot of the times you don't get great service. You don't get good people skills.
Yeah, something I wanted to add too is like just the way that the world is going. Like, we don't know what things are going to change, but things are going to change. Like, a lot of jobs are being displaced
With AI and
with,
automation, robots.
and so your child needs to be able to be creative and anyway, and understand information like we've talked about. But a lot of the like big inventors and like those big names that you learn about, like Thomas Edison and Thomas Jefferson. Okay, well, so many people. I
Go
should
back
have.
through history. We should have wrote the list down. There's a list we
Yeah.
have. Literally, go back through your history and find out who are these amazing figures who went through homeschool program.
Yeah, most of them were homeschooled, is
Or
what
had
I'm
like
getting
private teachers, not just like maybe they went to public school, but they had like a dedicated private instructor with them, like at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's at the end of the day, parents, right? It's up to two adults, maybe even two kids at time. They make that decision. We're talking about the rule here, not the exception. Two adults make a decision to create a life. Whether they meant to create a life or not, they made the decision that ended up creating the life. It's up to them to take responsibility for that life and to educate them, to prepare them. And so that's why we felt it was important to talk about education, was because as intentional parents, as purposeful parents, we made the decision to have a kid. We didn't expect to have our first child. That was not on purpose, like, yeah, we're doing this to have a kid today. Like, no. But now that we do, it's up to us to prepare this life. It's not up to a school teacher.
No.
It's not up to a daycare
And
aide.
it's such a big thing. We would never place that in someone else's hands.
Absolutely not. No, because it's the most important part is what kind of education you receive. Like, even if you're big on like, oh, you need a college degree, like that is an education still. Like, I'm not saying public school is not an education at all, but your degree of education is what sets you apart in life. It is.
Which is just the information that you know.
Yep. And so that's the long, the 3-year story in 20, 30 minutes of why we decided to homeschool. We'll get into more on later episodes about specific kind of parenting topics, but for right now, that I think mostly covers why we made that decision and what kind of led to that. Let me see what time we're at. Oh yeah, 29 minutes, 50 seconds on the dot. We're good.
Perfect.
All right. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Tell us a comment about your favorite part or what kind of education you received. What was your favorite part about being educated, whether it was homeschool, private school. If you want to talk some shit, that's fine too. I'm a professional shit talker. Hit that subscribe notification bell. New podcast episodes rolling out every Monday sometime in those 24 hours because we haven't locked in a time yet. But yeah, find me on Instagram, Jewell on Purpose.
Raising with Gracie.
We'll be there.
Gracie.
You'll figure it out. It'll be linked down below. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.